James is the yellow one, Henry's the red one. What's the green one? If anybody knows what the green one's called, put it in the comments. The workshop's an absolute bomb site at the minute. There's crap everywhere. I mean, some of it, like this, isn't even my crap. I've had a friend around recently who's been building me a new toy, which should make it a bit easier to kind of make some of the smaller details and things, and kind of little custom parts, bits of hardware and stuff. It's a little CNC machine. I was gonna kind of save up and do a video of making some bits and doing some drawings for it and kind of creating some pickup covers and stuff. After I'd had some practice and figured out how to do it and got kind of, I'm not going to say good, maybe mediocre at using the machine. But I'm not going to do that yet. That's probably going to be somewhere in the future. Because I'm learning a lot about this. I've been using a big CNC machine in my day job, which is programmed and set up and everything except putting the work on the bed and pressing go is done by someone else, which is really nice because that's all the stuff that confuses the crap out of me. So this is the machine. So at the moment it's on the part of the workbench and surrounded by all kinds of tools and bits and pieces that we've been using to kind of put things together. But if I turn it on, basically what it's going to help me do is make things like pickup covers, some inlays, maybe the 4th Avenue logo for headstocks, custom bridges and things and odds. It's just kind of custom parts. I'm still learning how it works, but we've basically got 3 axes of movement and a spinning spindle of doom. It cuts things and does all kinds of weird magical stuff. If you've tuned into this video to get kind of insightful CNC knowledge, you should probably just turn it off and go find another video about now, because all you're going to get is the ramblings of someone who has no idea how this thing works, but is somehow winging it and causing chaos. So we've got 15 centimeters or 150 millimeters of kind of working space on the x-axis. I already need to oil it, by the way. There's a theme in this workshop as things get dusty and need oiling quite quickly. So we can move 15 centimeters across that way for working space from the 0 point, which, let's put it back to 0. And then from where we are again, we can move, I think it's almost 40 centimeters back. So these are important measurements that I need to remember for future programs and figuring out how to make things. I also just enjoy pressing the buttons and seeing what happens. Strangely satisfying. So far, the things that I've been testing to try and see if I can make are a set of single coil pickup covers, which I've done 4 tests so far on this. The drawing has gone through a couple of tweaks every time I've done it, because I'm learning how to actually use CAD software and design the things. There will be a video where you get to see me do that coming up at some point, but for now, just trust me, they look like they should work in the drawing. So that's the first test, where I used some old mahogany and I had to figure out things like the tool offset, and it did some strange things. There was some programming issues going on, which meant it kept stopping partway through the program, and there was some user issues where I hit the wrong button and it milled a slot straight across the entire piece. But other than that, everything worked out. The sizing is right and the location, everything kind of fits in the right place. Then I did another test where I realised that I tried to do some radius parts in there, but I've only got a flat end mill cutter. So it just left me steps, which I can't really get to clean out unless I take these out, and even then they're going to be a pain in the arse. So that wasn't working. So I changed it again. And then ran another test, which worked pretty much perfectly, except for the alignment of the piece. Basically, to make these, I have to mill a pocket in the back for each pickup, and then the holes for the ears on the cover. And then I have to turn the piece over and index it in just the right place to mill all the outline from the top. Everything's working well now, except for indexing it in the right place, which is a pain because that needs to be precise. I tweaked the board, the template that I made. Basically, I made this jig to kind of lock a 10 by 10 centimetre block in place, so I could flip it and it would be in exactly the same place. But this has to be level, which unfortunately is, I can get it close, but half a millimetre out makes a difference, and it's a bit of a nightmare. And I had an idea last night of a better way to do it, so that is going away, and all of these can go away. But what I've come up with is an idea that if I have a sacrificial board basically on top of the CNC bed that's indexed in the same place every time it goes back on, and locks down and has a pocket cut in it for whatever the workpiece that I'm doing is, that could work. So what I've done is I've measured out and cut a piece of 18mm thick plywood. It's not plywood, it's MDF. And I've drilled various holes to anchor it in the right place. So we've got slots in the bed that we've milled to set workpieces on. Used T-bolts to hold things down. So this is going to be held in with those. But I've also got 4 little holes here in the corner, which are 4mm. So through those, I'm going to mark and drill on the actual CNC bed, matching 4mm holes. And then I believe I've got some 4mm stainless steel bar, which I will put into these holes, and I think I'm going to super glue them, set them rock solid. They will be cut off to stick out, and I'll round the ends, and they'll index perfectly with the holes in the CNC bed, which means that every time I put this back on, it will be in exactly the same place, which will mean it's going to be perfectly square. And because this is just a flat plate, and if I use the CNC to mill my pockets to put the workpiece in, they're also going to be perfectly square, and I'm going to have a 0 point that I can work with. And if I'm teaching you to suck eggs here, I apologise, but if you don't understand CNC, which I had no idea about, the 0 point is the point that everything starts from. So it's on a workpiece often it's the bottom left hand corner on top of the raw material that you're cutting from. It always needs to have a 0 point. I've learned that by having it beaten into me by an angry Italian that's the friend that's built me this. He understands electronics and he doesn't understand why I don't understand electronics. It's quite amusing. But we have eaten a lot of pizza recently. So I'm going to get on with trying to get this attached. I've put some bolts with T-nuts in here, so I'm going to put this on the bed, try and get it lined up. I'm going to drill these holes, and then I'm going to go and create a file to mill out the pockets that I need. The next bit of video you'll see is probably the machine milling out the pockets, because I'm not really confident enough with the software that I'm using to allow you to watch me balls it up. Well, I've attached the spoil board that I'm going to be milling to the CNC bed. There are 4 pins indexing it in place, so it'll always end up back in the same spot. There are 6 bolts holding it down, so it's nice and flat and solid, it's not going anywhere. I've checked it with a straight edge in a few places straight back, a few places straight across and diagonally, and it's perfectly level. So I'm happy to start the program now. The machine's on, it's set to home. All I need to do is load up the right program and press go. You might have noticed looking at it, there's no kind of extractor type dust cover or anything at the moment. That's a work in progress. There will be extraction on it because I'm going to be making a lot of dust with it, but as it is, I'm going to have to stand around whilst it does its thing with a hoover or any generic vacuum cleaner brand. I'm partial to my pneumatics. I've got a Henry and a James. I need to get a Charles and a Hetty and whatever the other one is to complete the whole set. What is the other one called? Charles is the blue one, James is the yellow one, Henry's the red one. What's the green one? If anybody knows what the green one's called, put it in the comments. I need to know. But enough of that, let's get going. So that's the spoil board done. What I've learned whilst doing that is that dust extractors have a really boring job, and I need to get that sorted on mine because that program took about 3 and a bit hours, maybe 3.5 hours, and I had to sit around with the Hoover the whole time. I've also learned that the pockets in this are perfectly square. The perfectly square blocks that I made to fit in the jig aren't perfectly square, so I need to come up with a solution for that. I think I have an idea, but I'll figure it out and I'll make it work. And then the next video that features the CNC, I should have it sorted, and I think I'm going to make some pickup covers from a really nice piece of flamed roasted maple. I mean, I'll probably have to wind some pickups to go with them, because why not?